Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who figure review. In today's Doctor Who figure review, I'll be taking a look at the Witch's Familiar set, part of the last two B&M sets for this year, the other set being the Coal Hill School set with Ace and the Imperial Dalek. So today I'll be taking a look at the 12th Doctor and Davros. So the way this video is going to work is I'm going to do the packaging, articulation and detail, and do my usual comparison to the other existing figures, what these figures are based from. So without further ado, let's look at the packaging and then we'll go on to the figures themselves. So taking a look at the packaging for the Witch's Familiar set, so we've got the traditional style guide packaging motif there, the Doctor Who logo, the TARDIS, the window box displaying the figures there so you can check for quality control, the limited edition sticker, the name of the set, and again the name of the set there, and we have the incorrect date there, 1988, character option 5+. The side we continue the style guide packaging motif. We have the prototype images of the figures there, a bit of bio on the Witch's Familiar there, so do feel free to pause if you want to have a little read of that, and the other side of the box. So taking a look at the card diorama now, so we have the main sort of room where the Daleks are, where the Supreme Dalek is and where the TARDIS gets obliterated. So we've got the nice sort of windows of the city of Skaro there, which is done very well. So this is a great little card display for your Daleks, but I feel like what would have made a better card diorama for this set would be the sort of sick room where Davros spends most of his story, and the 12th Doctor really. It would have made more sense for that to be the card diorama, but still it's a nice little diorama for your figures. So taking a look at the 12th Doctor as he appears in the Magician's Apprentice, and of course the Witch's Familiar. Now I believe that this 12th Doctor figure was originally going to be released in 2017 with the other 12th Doctor figures like The Girl Who Died and Under the Lake and Before the Flood. But now this figure has been released in the B&M line, which is very cool. So let's look at the articulation. So taking a look at the articulation for the 12th Doctor, the head can move side to side. The arms are ball jointed. The arms can do a full 360 degree turn. We have 360 degree turn at the bicep, bend at the elbow, 360 degree turn at the wrist. We do have waist swivel, but it is incredibly stiff. The legs can kick out and to the side, but ever slightly hindered by the Crombie coat. We do have 360 at the thigh, and we do have a bend at the knee, and the boots do a full 360 degree turn. So taking a look at the detail for the 12th Doctor figure, so if we start off with the hair, now the hair suffers the same problem as many 12th Doctor figures, but it is just too dark. On camera it does look a lot lighter, but as you can see the main base coat for the hair is obviously a solid black colour and a sort of a grey wash over the top to really highlight the curl details on the hair strands, which is done really well. It's just a shame that it isn't, you know, how Capaldi's hair is really, but it's still very nice. The detailing is done very well, as you can see the individual strands of hair, and the wash really does bring out that sort of sculpting of the hairs with the various curls and etc. So it's done really well. I do like that, but it's just a bit of a shame that it suffers the same fate as any other 12th Doctor figure, that the hair's just a little bit too dark. The paint taps on the face, they're pretty good, but again it does suffer the same sort of 12th Doctor problem, that the paint taps are just too heavily applied on the face, so you do lose some of that detailing, that fine detailing under the heavy paint taps. But you can just about see that there are lines on the forehead. You know, you've got the lines there on the face, which is done very well. It's just a shame that, you know, the paint taps are just too heavily applied, so you do lose that finer bits of detail, but it still has a very good likeness to Peter Capaldi himself, and I really do like this figure, I will be honest. It is the standout figure of a set for me. But the costume is done really well. The main Crombie coat is now black, which obviously if you know your 12th Doctor costume, that it should be a navy colour, navy blue, but I guess because the 12th Doctor is practically in the sort of dark room with Davros, I guess they've just decided to make the coat black. Now the coat does have the red lining, which is very nice, and it does look very vibrant against the more sort of stark, darker colours of this costume, which is done very well. So I wasn't expecting the lining to be painted on it, but that is a very nice attention to detail, since that is a very significant part of the 12th Doctor's costume. We've got the button detail there, the fastenings, and again we do have the buttons on the cuff of the Crombie coat. And in Series 9 the 12th Doctor did have a red button, but the red button is missing on this edition. We've got the pocket sculpted there, the seams of the jacket, which is done very well in the creasing to give it that lifelike effect there. We do have the hoodie detailing, the zips painted there and the creasing, done very well, and the t-shirt with that sort of off-white colour with a grey pattern. Obviously character options can't do the exact patterning because of copyright. I believe that patterning was some sort of like misty mountain, and then we've got the hoodie detail there, which is done very well in a sort of gloss black colour, which really does stand out against the jacket there, the creasing detail, how it would naturally fall. So we detail very well, and we even do have the 12th Doctor's ring painted, which is really nice attention to detail, since some of the figures like the 3rd Doctor don't have the ring painted, so I feel like that was a really nice little addition to have there, since it's a prominent feature of the 12th Doctor's costume. Then we have the check trousers, which, you know, I really do get a Hartnell vibe off them. I can see why Capaldi wanted the check trousers to sort of emulate the 60s Doctors, and I definitely do see that with that. And I believe that the trousers should be ever so lighter, light grey, but personally I quite like the sort of darker grey check trousers. I think that's really good. Really well done. The check detailing's done very well on such a small scale. Character options have done a brilliant job. We've got the creasing on the trousers to give it that lifelike effect, and the Doc Martens are done very well. We've got the sort of brogue patterning and panelling stitching, even the tongue bit of the shoe, which is done very well, and the sole of the shoe, and we continue that brogue patterning on the top of the shoe there and the lace detailing. So yeah, the 12th Doctor figure is very good. Still has some of the same flaws as the other 12th Doctor figures what have been released, but still I really do like this figure. So let's compare it to the Girl Who Died 12th Doctor figure. So moving on to the comparison now. So if I bring in the Witch's Familiar 12th Doctor, again this uses the same body sculpt as the Under the Lake Before the Flood 12th Doctor, but I think because this costume's so similar to the Magician's Apprentice Witch's Familiar 12th Doctor, it makes sense to compare it to this one. So we take a look at the hair now. You can see what I mean, that the 12th Doctor figures do suffer that the hair is just a bit too dark. I mean, it is a lot lighter on the Girl Who Died one, but you can see what I mean, that the hair is very dark on the Magician's Apprentice Witch's Familiar version of the 12th Doctor. The Crombie coat, as you can see, is more navy on the Girl Who Died one compared to the Witch's Familiar one, and we even have the red button painted on the Girl Who Died version, and you can see the difference in the hoodie and the various costume there, but this one definitely does stand out a little bit more because it has a bit more of a brighter costume. Again, the check trouser differences there. We don't have any mud wash on them this time, and the Doc Martens have a gloss finish on the Girl Who Died one compared to the more matte finish on the Magician's Apprentice Witch's Familiar version of the 12th Doctor. So that is basically a quick comparison. It's just a simple repaint of the hoodie 12th Doctor sculpt to make it look like how he appeared in the Witch's Familiar and Magician's Apprentice. So moving on to Davros now, from his appearance in the Series 9 opener. So let's look at the articulation, then we'll go on to the detail. So taking a look at the articulation for Davros, the head can move side to side, the arm can do full 360-degree turn, but you've just got to be careful of the chair braces there and the sort of struts there. We do have 360-degree turn at the bicep. We do have elbow articulation and 360-degree turn at the wrist. And of course, Davros does move on wheels. So taking a look at the detail for Davros, so this basically is a repaint of the Stolen Earth Journey's End Davros. And in the Series 9 opener, I believe Julian Bleach had a new mask. So this Davros should technically have a new head sculpt, because obviously Davros was very sick and ill in that he was dying, and this, I feel like the paint apps on Davros's actual face are a little bit off. As you can see, they look almost sort of a grey green, but in the actual story, as you can see on the photo on the screen, that he's quite a light brown colour, sort of almost like a yellowy brown colour to show that he's quite ill and sick. So I feel like the paint apps don't really reflect how he appears in the story, but I will say that, you know, it's still very highly detailed. We've got sort of a brown base coat with a sort of a grey green wash over it to really highlight the sculpting detail on Davros with the various wrinkles, and you know, where the skin's sort of sagging there. We've got Davros's little eye painted there. You know, it's done, you know, it's a fantastic sculpt, especially where you can see the sort of lines and wrinkles on the face there, which is done very well. It's just a shame that it's not entirely accurate in terms of how he appears in the story. The head brace is done very well in that nice vibrant silver. Again, the chair is done in that vibrant silver, what we've come to know from the Silver Nemesis, Cybermen, and the various history of the Daleks, Daleks from the 60s. You know, it has that more vibrant silver, which really does pop alongside that sort of more jet black finish to the chair. The costume, we've got more of a sort of a glossy finish to Davros's sort of costume, which is done very well, with a more metallic silver finish to the buckles, which really do pop against the more gloss black of the actual costume. The Davros's hand done very well, again in that bright silver finish, and we've got the nice detailing there, and the paneling sections of Davros's hand, the creasing detail as well, to really give it that lifelike effect. So taking a look at Davros's control panels now, the paint taps are incredibly sharp and crisp, you know, no paint bleeds, which is done very well considering the minute scale of this. It's done very well. Even inside Davros's chair has been painted, which is done very well. Got the various leaves and switches painted there, which really do make it pop alongside the figure. So the actual skirt section here is in more of a darker silver, almost like a grey colour, which is done very well, which appears in the episode very well. And again, we have the nice vibrant silver hemispheres, which really do pop alongside the jet black finish to the actual chair itself, which is done very well. It's kind of interesting, Davros's chair in the Series 9 two-parter, because in some lights it looks like almost like a grey finish, like a grey silver, and in some lights it does have that sort of vibrant silver like what we see here, which is done very well. And we have a sort of metallic finish to the fender section there, which is done very well, got the various nuts and bolts. So moving on to the comparison, so if we bring in the original Julian Bleach Davros figure, you can see the difference in the paint apps on the head sculpt, that this has more of a glossy brown finish to it, whereas this has more of a sort of a darker sort of greyish green colour to it, which is rather odd. But you can definitely see that the metallic finish on this Davros really does stand out. The more jet black finish to the skirt section just makes it seem more crisp and cleaner. So I definitely do prefer the paint apps applied on this new Davros. You can see the difference in the control panels, that this again has the more vibrant silver and the sort of darker green finish to the button there on Davros's chair. So yeah, that just simple differences. You know, you can really see the differences in the chair. You know, this has a metallic finish to the fender, where this is just your standard black finish to it, which is done alright, but I definitely do prefer the paint apps on the new Davros's chair on the Witch's Familiar one. But yeah, the paint apps on the face, not too keen on, I'll be honest. But I will say that the paint apps on the Witch's Familiar Davros, I feel brings out the sculpt a lot more, so you really do get to see the finer details. So overall, what are my thoughts on the Witch's Familiar set? Now, Witch's Familiar, you know, the main enjoyment factor in that story is the 12th Doctor and Davros, so it's nice to have a set featuring these two characters. The 12th Doctor figure I really do like. You know, it still suffers the same problems as any other 12th Doctor figure, you know, the hair's not light enough, but I really do like the costume version of this 12th Doctor. It's a really nice little variant. But I do feel like this set is a little bit of a wasted opportunity. Personally, I would have loved to have been able to have put the 12th Doctor in Davros's chair to recreate that sort of famous moment of him just going into the main room of the Daleks in Davros's chair. Would have been wonderful, and obviously have the wires sticking out from Davros, just give it a bit more of a playability factor. And you know, Davros himself, you know, the paint apps on the face just seem a little bit too off for me. You know, that it should be sort of a yellowy brown colour instead of this sort of greyish green colour almost in certain lights. You know, and obviously the new head sculpt for Julian Bleach would have made the set even more desirable, I feel. Obviously I get that these sets are done on a budget, but I think if people are, you know, going to get these, I think to make this set even more desirable, it would have been great to have had a new head sculpt for Davros, just to make it seem a bit more desirable for people who, you know, fancy getting another Davros figure. But if you missed the Julian Bleach Davros figure, then this is great. You know, I really do like the updated paint apps on Davros's chair. It's just a shame that the paint apps on the face do kind of let it down for me personally. But I do have a soft spot for this set, despite my criticism for it. But I do still feel like this set is a little bit of a wasted opportunity. I feel like this set could have been so much more, you know, if they had the budget to do it. You know, the new head sculpt for Davros would have been brilliant. You know, I think that would have been made this set even more desirable, and to be able to put the 12th Doctor in Davros's chair would have been just provided hours of entertainment. So yeah, I do like this set overall, but I feel a little bit mixed and torn on it in certain areas. But yeah, that has been my review of the Witch's Familiar set. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time, whatever that will be. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.